Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. April 26th, 2018.
The Kuhner Report is powered by Kelly Financial Services. Cleaning up your financial bull. Get the peace of mind that you deserve at Kelly Financial Services.
12:06 here on the great WRKO. Okay, my friends, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. The caravan has now hit the border. It's literally at the border. It's about to cross the border. And now, what will the president do? Okay, my friends, jam-packed show for you today. Before I get into what is now clearly an invasion, there's no other way to describe it. In fact, even the caravan migrants are openly now taunting the United States, taunting President Trump, taunting Attorney General Jeff Sessions. I have a column up that I am urging all of you to please read and pass along to your friends. It is called Comey the Criminal. It destroys and exposes James Comey, his book tour, what he did as FBI director, and now stories are breaking that, in fact, he has leaked classified information while he was FBI director in an attempt to bring down Trump and humiliate Trump to multiple sources. Not just the professor friend of his at Columbia University. I discussed this in my column, but now multiple sources. That's a crime. Punishable, each one by up to 10 years in prison. You even now have Jeffrey Toobin, the liberal legal analyst at CNN, admitting openly that now Comey has put himself in legal jeopardy and is now legally very vulnerable to being prosecuted. Essentially, he committed the same crime that he exonerated Hillary Clinton for. And so I expose all of this in my latest column, Comey the Criminal. I'm urging all of you, please, Kuhner Country, we have to get the message out there. Go to WRKO.com/Kuhner, Kuhner. Click on menu. There's Kuhner's Corner, where all my columns are. And there it is, Comey the Criminal. Please pass it on, read it, and pass it on social media. Brittany, who's officially starting her vacation today, she's going to be out today, tomorrow, and all of next week. Jared, by the way, is going to be taking over at the booth. He's going to be basically running the show for the next 10 days. She also has a very good column on the need for criminal justice reform here in Massachusetts. Extremely good column. She calls for the death penalty for cop killers. I urge all of you, go to WRKO.com/Kuhner, and you can click on menu and just click on Brittany Jennings, and there is her latest column. Okay, a lot to talk about. Without question, my friends, this is now an invasion. And the question now is, what is President Trump going to do? As I'm speaking to you now, a caravan has now formed at the border. They're 5 minutes away now from the San Diego sector. Yesterday, about 130 women and children arrived. They were then treated by advocacy groups, pro-open borders groups, giving them water, giving them food, giving them shelter. Now another 500 have arrived, mostly men. And now together, they are saying that over the weekend, they're going to rest up the next day or two. They are now essentially going to, en masse, in one group, cross a pedestrian bridge right into the United States through the Mexican border with California. According now to the migrants that are there, they are openly saying there is nothing the American government can do. In fact, they are openly daring the American government to stop them, saying that they have the right to enter the United States. Many of them are seeking asylum. Others are just saying they're economic migrants and they want a better life in America, and illegal immigrants have the right to enter the United States. That any attempt to stop them from crossing the border, according to them, is racist, bigoted, and discriminatory. They are now being supported by Sin Pobleras, which is Sin Pobleras Fronteras, which is basically Spanish for open borders countries or countries with open borders. This is a radical open borders group that is funded by George Soros and Tom Steyer. It's an American group. Already they have sent an army of lawyers to lawyer up every single one of these illegal migrants. Some are going to be claiming asylum status. Others are going to just try to come in, be detained, and then have catch and release implemented so they can be released into the general public, and you will never see them again. According to some of the people that are interviewed, let me just give you an example. There is one woman who came with her 4 children. She is now waiting for her husband to come. He'll come either today or tomorrow. When interviewed by journalists, she says the reason why she is fleeing Guatemala, all of them are either from Guatemala, El Salvador, or Honduras. She says that she is fleeing abuse perpetrated against her by people within her community. Well, by that standard, the whole world can come into the United States. Others are claiming they're fleeing domestic abuse. In other words, their husbands are beating them up. Well, husbands, forgive me, but domestic abuse happens all over the world. So if this qualifies for asylum status, my friends, you better get ready to have billions of people pour into the United States. The long and the short of it is this. This is an open, naked invasion. And the people who are pushing this caravan are openly bragging that there is nothing the president can do, there is nothing the Border Patrol can do, and there is nothing the United States can do. In fact, a 15-year-old girl walked right up to the border, and there's an overpass, and underneath the overpass at this sector is an American flag. And there is a small stunted barrier right nearby. And literally, according to Agence France Presse, she's taunting Trump, saying, is this your wall? I was expecting a much bigger wall than this. This wall doesn't scare me. So what they are now trying to do, and this is why these advocacy groups are pushing this caravan, they're being used as pawns, which is why the liberal media is now there. Journalists are there. They want to break Trump's back. They want to show the country and the world that for all of his tough talk of a wall, of securing the border, of repelling this invasion of these migrants, that in the end, the president is a paper tiger. That in the end, the president is all bark and no bite. That he is powerless in the face of this invasion of third world illegal immigrants. The president now has shot back, saying that he is ordering Border Patrol guards and the National Guard troops to reinforce that sector of the border. He is also saying that he's going to arrest every single one of them who tries to cross the border, and that he vows they will be deported. And so now there is a showdown taking place at our southern border. Now, let me give you my 2 cents worth, and then I want to hear from you. 617-266-6868 is the number. To me, what the president needs to do is be even more aggressive than he has been so far. They are now challenging his authority, but more than that, they are challenging our right as a country to have borders. They're challenging our right as a country to have our own immigration laws and immigration system, and they are fundamentally challenging the sovereignty and independence of the United States. A nation without borders is not a nation. If a nation cannot determine who should come into their country, they are no longer a nation. And we will eventually be overwhelmed. In fact, we're already being overwhelmed. But we're going to be completely flooded. This is now a fundamental test of Trump's presidency and of his authority and his commitment to the America First agenda. And so what I think the president needs to do is as follows. As this is taking place in Washington, D.C., representatives from Canada, Mexico, and the United States are trying to rush to finish a deal to renegotiate NAFTA. If I am the president of the United States, I turn right away to the Mexican authorities and I tell them straight out, if you do not get rid of every single one of these migrants, if you do not turn every single one of them around and stop completely cold all of these illegals crossing our southern border, your northern border, El Norte, I'm ending NAFTA right now on the spot. And the Mexican economy will crash. Take your pick. Do you want NAFTA or do you want open borders? Either you start reining in all of these illegals and send these caravans back on Mexican soil that you allowed in, or I'm telling you, I'm tearing up the deal today. That should be point number one. Point number two, with all due respect to Jeff Sessions and the president, arresting them and threatening to deport them is not enough. Because we know with the lawyers that they have, with the immigration system that we have, it's going to end up with catch and release. They're going to be released, they're going to have to appear at a court date, and they're never going to show up. You're never going to see them deported. Take this to the bank. Take the National Guard, don't put them behind the Border Patrol, put them in front of the Border Patrol. And tell every single one of these migrants and these caravans, you are not allowed to cross the border. Period. We're pushing you back. End of story. Unless you have a visa to come into the United States, you're not tourists, you're not welcome here. Period. I don't care what Amnesty International says. I don't care what the ACLU says. I don't care what CNN says. I don't care what the Democratic Party says. I don't care what the UN says. You are not refugees. You are not running away from some civil war. No one is out to try to massacre you. This is not a genocide that's taking place, as say, for example, in Syria. You are simply here looking for a better life because you come from a third world hellhole. And much of the world is a third world hellhole. Okay? Or a crap hole, as Trump would call it. And this is, to me, the fundamental point. The very same liberals who mocked President Trump and called him a racist for referring to countries like Guatemala and El Salvador and Honduras as, I have to clean it up, crap holes, S-holes, well, why are they fleeing? If they're not crap holes, why are they fleeing? Because they are crap holes. So when you call them crap holes, it's insulting. But now we're supposed to accept them by their logic because they are crap holes. No, 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 no. Much of the world is a crap hole. That's a fact of life. And if we allow them in, we have to allow everybody else in. And the United States of America will be destroyed. Period. Full stop. Put the National Guard in front of the Border Patrol agents, and you tell every single one of them, you try to cross, we're going to push you back. No way are you coming into the United States. I don't care what the lawyers told you. I don't care what Soros told you. I don't care what Amnesty International told you. I don't care what Sin Pobreras Frontieras told you. I don't care what these globalists and moonbats told you. You're not welcome here in America. We have enough illegals. We have enough poor. We have a hard time taking care of our own. The last thing we need are more welfare cases. 617-266-6868 is the number. Let me ask you this. They're now on the verge of crossing the major pedestrian bridge linking Mexico to California. They're 5 minutes away. They can now even see the American flag. They claim they're all going to rush in as one big group. It's an invasion. What should the president do? 617-266-6868. Your calls next. 12:25 here on the great WRKO. Okay, they're coming. They are now basically 5 minutes away from the border. They're going to bull rush. They say they don't know when, either Saturday or Sunday, a pedestrian bridge linking Mexico to the California border. About 700 of these illegal migrants, and they are now openly taunting the president, saying there is nothing you can do. So what should the president do? 617-266-6868. And to all the liberals out there that are agreeing with this, are supporting this, if you say yes to them, what about to all the other tens and tens of millions of people all across Central America, Latin America, Africa, Asia, the Middle East, Eastern Europe, who want to come as well? Why this caravan and not other caravans? And if you say yes to the world, you tell me, how do we absorb all of these people? It will literally destroy us. 617-266-6868. Lou in Rhode Island, you're up next. Thanks for holding, Lou, and welcome.
How you doing, Jeff? Of course they say yes to the world. This is George Soros we're talking about here. You know, they want them all to come in. And they want to have them come in. They'll give them the driver's licenses, the voting cards. That's what they want, you know. But here's a couple things that are in my mind with this whole deal. Number one, all of these lawyers and the Soros people, they're all accomplices to this whole thing, aren't they? So they're going to basically aiding and abetting people who are breaking the law. They need to be arrested as well. They also need to not do catch and release. It should be catch and hold, have quick hearings, and then get them out of here. Third thing, we need to start putting some sanctions on Mexico. They had to cross all the way through Mexico to get into the United States. We ought to put some heavy sanctions on Mexico and big higher tariffs on Mexican goods to help pay for our operations down there. And the other thing is that, have you looked at the Democratic platform, what they're going to be running on in 2018 and even 2020? One of their things is to eliminate ICE, to get rid and have open borders altogether. They want to eliminate ICE altogether and just have this open border policy. And the final thing I want to say is this is going to backfire on them, because this will show the need for the wall more than ever. And these rhinos and these Republicans better be on board, and a lot of these Democrats who are going to get scared out of this are going to realize that the American public doesn't want this. They don't want open borders. They don't want anybody coming into the country anytime they want and taking jobs and getting voting cards and getting all these benefits. They don't want it. It's going to backfire in their face, and there's going to be a showing that there's going to be a need for the wall more than ever.
Lou, from your lips to God's ears, thank you very much for that call. Look, you almost stole my thunder there, Lou. You look at this now, this caravan coming in. This is Exhibit A for why you need the wall. I mean, you have a massive wall. They're going to try to sneak in. They're going to try to just rush in, and they think they can overpower a lot of the Border Patrol or the military that's going to be there. If there was a massive wall along that border, you're just going to bump your head up against the wall. If it's 40, 50, 60 feet high, it's going to be almost impossible to scale it, especially if you put barbed wire on the top. So, it's Exhibit A for why we need the wall. But to me, even the bigger point, to be fair to Mexico, okay, and you know I'm not a big fan of the Mexican government because it's essentially a corrupt narco state. The drug cartels run the Mexican government, but let that go. The Mexican government, every single one of those illegals that are right now looking to cross the border, Mexico has given them asylum on Mexican soil. So, if you're fleeing supposedly war, genocide, political persecution, if that's your big fear, right? Oh, they're going to kill me in my homeland. You're safe. There's no war in Mexico. I mean, I know the drug cartels are violent, but there's no raging civil war. There's no Holocaust. There's no genocide. So if you're really interested in just asylum, you made it. What they want is not asylum. They want the welfare benefits, the food stamps, the EBT, the welfare, the free health care, the free education. That's what they want. They want Uncle Sucker and all of the goodies that come with it. That's why they're trying to cross that border. To the president, You sent down the National Guard. Now you use the National Guard. Put them right there on the border and tell them here and no further. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my friends, we're going to be talking about this story, I promise, later in the show. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, this to me is a travesty, is no longer in the running to lead the Veterans Affairs Department. Evan Heidenrich is in the WRKO newsroom. He has all of the latest details. Take it away, Evan. 12:36 here on the great WRKO. Okay, my friends, I got a fresh column up. I am urging all of you, please go read it. Send it off to your colleagues. It's the column the mainstream media doesn't want you to read. Comey the criminal. I lay out the case for all of the criminal acts committed by the dirtiest cop in America. Go to WRKO.com/Kuhner, Kuhner. Click on menu. There's the Kuhner's Corner. That's where all my columns are. Comey the criminal. Please read it and pass it on. Okay. There is now a showdown brewing at our southern border. They have now officially arrived. Nearly 700 illegal immigrants, the migrant caravan, many of them men, women, a few children. They now say they're going to cross the border, a pedestrian bridge, in the next several days. They are taunting the president, taunting our government, taunting Jeff Sessions, saying there is nothing you can do to stop us. We are going to cross that border, and we're going to stay in America. What should the president do? You can text us, WRKO, so we know the message is for us. Whatever your message is, 70470, 7470. This is from 617. Jeff, I've had it. The National Guard should be in front of the Border Patrol agents with rubber bullets, tear gas, and German Shepherds. If they don't stop, go to hollow points. In the end, even if there are fatalities, fewer will die in the long run. Interesting. 617-266-6868. Bob in Dorchester, you're up next. Go ahead, Bob.
Hi, Jeff. How about demolish this bridge so no one can pass over it, and then cut the benefits off of this, off of California? Shut them down.
What do you mean, like shut California down? Like just basically stop all our transfer payments to California?
Absolutely. Shut it down. Send a clear message to the rest of the country. We're shutting down all these welfare benefits. That's what they're all here for. Shut it down.
Bob, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868. Carol in New Hampshire, you're up next. Go ahead, Carol.
Hi, Jeff. First of all, definitely the National Guard. Nobody should be allowed to come into our country, period. I think we need to start holding these politicians accountable for taking an oath to protect this country. Okay, so here's what I'm proposing. A march on Washington, shut the place down, not on a Saturday and Sunday, but for the whole darn week, okay? At the same time, we march on every representative's, every senator's office, and then we take a page from the Democratic Party playbook and we show up at their homes. Let them know that this is our country and we are not going to put up with this any longer.
Carol, I agree with you, and I think it's a brilliant long-term strategy, but what would you advise for now?
Absolutely.
Do you think the National Guard should be there, say, with rubber bullets, tear gas, dogs? In other words, make sure they just don't cross that border, period. Disperse them.
Under no circumstances let them cross that border, because once they get in here, they lawyer up and they disappear. And they're in here. And the world is watching this, Jeff, now. President Trump needs to make a stand, and I have trust in him that he will do it. It's everybody else around him, all these other politicians, that will try to stop him. But under no circumstances, if we have to send citizens down there, under no circumstances do these people come across the border.
Carol, let me just play devil's advocate with you for a second, because you're obviously a very intelligent person. I can tell just how articulate you are. I agree with you, but just for the sake of argument, many of these people are desperate. Many of these people are very poor. Many of these people live in the grip of fear of MS-13, especially from El Salvador and Honduras. A lot of violence where they're from. Many of them are fleeing a very violent country. Shouldn't we be more compassionate to these people who just want to have a good, decent life for themselves and their children? What do you say to that argument?
Like you said before, Jeff, we cannot take the world over. It's going to destroy America. They need to stay in their country and fight for their country. And now our country needs to fight for our country because we're losing our sovereignty. Look at California. They're trying to do the same thing they did to California in Florida and in Texas. We need to stand up for our country, America first.
Carol, have you ever done radio before?
No.
Yeah, you should.
Oh, well, thank you.
You should. Excellent. Great call. Don't be a stranger. Please call again, Carol. Cheers. Jerry on the Cape, you're up next. Comrade, how you are, my friend?
Comrade. Comrade, before I mention the caravan, I wanted to mention lying, leaking Jim Comey for a moment.
Yes.
Did you know, as you know, he's been tied in with the Clintons at the hip for many, many years now, since the 1990s. And he's been tied to Mueller and Rosenstein and McCabe and all of those guys. It's the good old boys club. But Jeff, did you know, have you heard of D.L.A. Piper, the law firm?
Yes.
Do you know who the lead attorney is that handles the Clinton Foundation's taxes and audits?
No.
One Peter J. Comey.
Ah.
Jeff, the caravan. We're being told it's Pueblo Sin Fronteras, led by Adolfo Flores. That's a front. The real group that's leading this whole thing is the Puertas Sanchez cartel. They are a Peruvian paramilitary Marxist group trained by Hezbollah. And they're going to infiltrate us through the border with Hezbollah people on behalf of Iran. That's what's coming, Jeff.
So, Jerry, hold on, because you're bang on with all of this stuff. What you're saying is that essentially, Pueblo Sin Frontera, however you pronounce it, the group that's pushing this caravan is essentially a front group for the drug cartels.
For the Marxist,
Peruvian drug cartel.
They're not involved with drugs, really. They're involved with human trafficking, terrorism, contract murders. That's what they do. They were trained by Hezbollah in the training camps. Jeff, what people don't understand is there's been training camps in Central and South America and Mexico since the 1990s. Iran set up here then. They've been in our hemisphere for over 20 years now.
So, Jerry, what you're saying, I don't want to put words in your mouth. What you're saying is there's a real possibility that these caravans are infiltrated with either jihadists or MS-13 style gangbangers and killers. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. Puertas Sanchez cartel were the people that trained MS-13. Jeff, you realize how violent and vile MS-13 is. They get pleasure. They were trained to get pleasure in destroying people.
Incredible. Incredible. Jerry, as always, great call. Thank you for that call. Bill in Andover, you're up next. Go ahead, Bill.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure, Bill.
Well, I'll tell you, Jerry nailed it on that one, and nobody's going to argue with that. But two things. I'll start with the first one, and that is, like, if you remember now, people say, well, Obama put the National Guard on the border and that, and he did. But you know why he did? He did it in a humane process way to get the high volume of people that were coming through on the Obama train filtered into the country as fast as possible. Now, so what Trump needs to do is get everybody down there, the National Guard, build the holding platforms. You hold them, you bring some judges down there. You make the judges live there. You process these people. You look at what's going on, just like what Jerry said, do some investigation, hold them there as long as you have to, and you get them on a plane, and you send them to Mexico City. Jeff, have you ever been to Mexico City?
No, I haven't. I've never had the pleasure, Bob. Sorry, Bill. Bill, I've never had the pleasure, Bill.
It's awful, Jeff. I've been to Mexico a few times, out in the Badlands, doing business. It's awful. So what? President Trump, please do this, sir. Get your people down there, hold them, filter them. There might be a couple of real refugees in there. Who knows? But you follow the money, just like Jerry was saying. It's too bad we don't have real good connections in South America or Mexico anymore, so it's hard to get a grip of who to actually...
Bill, I agree with you, and thank you for that call, Bill. Look, send them back. Look, with all due respect, what do you do when you face an invasion? When invaders are coming into your country, what do? You repel them. What do you do when invaders invade your home? What do? You repel them. That's why I've been a big supporter of the wall. Because throughout history, when you're faced with an invasion, you build a wall, a fortress, to protect your homeland, your people, your country, and your sovereignty. And that's why we need the wall. 90% of all the heroin that is pouring into our country comes through the southern border. 90% of the MS-13 gangbangers who are pouring into our country come in through the southern border. The overwhelming number of jihadists who are coming into our country come in through the porous southern border. My friends, we're getting killed down there. And now you've got a caravan. I just want you to think, just stand back, okay? This was over a month ago, where they advertised to the world, we're taking people from El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, by the way, riven with MS-13 gang violence. And we're going to make our way all the way up El Norte, and there's anybody can do to stop us. And on the southern border with Mexico, in other words, Central America's southern border with Mexico, the Mexican government said, come on in, bienvenido. In fact, the Border Patrol agents were caught on tape literally sipping Cokes at the local bar, and they left their posts. So they've been making this trek throughout all, how big Mexico is? All the way up from the south of Mexico, crawling, sneaking their way up, and now they are 5 minutes away from California. And they're openly saying, there's nothing you can do to stop us. So we've almost had a camera on them now for over a month, and they just keep moving village by village, city by city. Some take buses, some take trains, and now they've all gathered. And now they've been lawyered up by these open borders advocacy groups saying, no, just apply for asylum. You apply for asylum, there's nothing the dumb gringo can do. They got to take you in. So just say you're a refugee. Just say it. Say it. They're going to let you in. So now they're saying, okay, what are they going to do? We'll all go together, one big gang, 700 of us, bull rush that pedestrian bridge, throw ourselves at the mercy of the Border Patrol, and that's it. We're in, and we're never getting out again. So if I'm the president of the United States, what I do is no more. I should go to Congress right now and say, you want to know why we need a border wall? Take a look at that. Because if they keep coming in, if this caravan comes in, they're going to keep coming and coming and coming, and we're going to have no country anymore. Number one. Number two, you see that National Guard that I sent down there? Okay, lock and load. Put in rubber bullets, lock and load. I want tear gas. I want German Shepherds. I want helicopters. These people are not crossing our border. Full stop. Period. What's the Mexican government going to do? Go to war with us over the caravan? I don't think so. Mike in New Hampshire, you're up next. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I think what they ought to do about this problem is they should raid some of these crooked immigration lawyers like they did Trump's lawyer.
Oh, you better believe it. How about raid all those advocacy groups? I want to know who's paying them.
How about the ACLU?
Mike, I agree with you. It's time to fight fire with fire. And thank you for that call. And also, round them up, put them on a plane, as Bill said, and send them back to Mexico City. Look, Mexico's already given them asylum. So, guys, Mexico is your country now, not America. You wanted asylum, right? You're fleeing war, persecution, all of that. Hey, plus they speak Spanish, similar culture. Guys, it's like you're in Honduras or El Salvador. What's the problem? Send them right back to Mexico City. And no first-class tickets. No. They all fly coach right back to Mexico City. Let the Mexicans deal with them. 617-266-6868. More with your calls next.
WRKO.
12:54 here on the great WRKO. Joe in Somerville. You're up next. Go ahead, Joe.
Hey, it's Joe Cortatone here calling Jeff.
Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for calling the show.
Jeff, no illegal immigrants? Really? What are you trying to tell me how to run my city now, tough guy? You got a problem? How about I deport you back to Canuckland, Jeff? What do you think about that?
Mayor Curtatone. Hey, I just wanted to ask you, do you have the tents and the housing ready for these migrants once they come through the border? Are you ready for them?
Jeff, I got it all set, ready to go. Listen, Jeff, you know what you call a building that...
617-266-6868 is the number. I was thinking those are your future voters, AO. That's why you want them in. Iceman Dan, you're up next. Go ahead, Iceman.
¿Cómo está, Jeff?
Hey, how are you, Iceman?
I'm doing all right. Hey, I got to give myself a quick hat tip for telling you a couple of weeks ago they were going to go to California, okay, because that's where they're going to get the most assistance.
Now, Iceman, just so that people understand, you're a former Border Patrol or ICE agent yourself, correct?
Deportation officer.
Deportation officer. So you know this, you know the racket almost better than anybody. If you were advising the president, what would you tell him to do right now?
Well, this is where, when people talk about immigration reform, this is where it's got to start. Because these people are not looking to enter the United States illegally. They want to get caught, Jeff. Okay? And this is something that started under the Obama administration. They're going to cross the border and start looking around for Border Patrol agents to turn themselves in. And they'll start screaming asylum and get a credible fear interview, okay? And once they pass that, it's lights out. They're not applying for political asylum. They're applying for, I can't make a living in the third world hole that I live in, and you idiots will support me, okay? That's what the name of that application should be, okay? It has nothing to do with asylum anymore. And this is something that started under Obama, and if you want immigration reform, this is where you need to start with this total, abolish this credible fear thing, because the criteria is so low, and the officers interviewing these people are trained and ordered to find credible fear.
So, Iceman, what you're saying, essentially, what you're saying is Soros has sent down these lawyers. They're meeting with them right now, 5 minutes from the border with California, and they're basically coaching these migrants how to claim asylum status in the United States, how to basically play the system. And what you're saying is they're not even going to try to sneak across the border. They're going to beg for a Border Patrol agent. Basically arrest me, and then let me apply for asylum, and we're going to have to release them, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Absolutely. They're being coached. They know exactly the buzzwords to say, and they know they can't be held, in many cases, these family units, they can't be held for more than 48 or 72 hours, I forget which, but, they know they're going to get let go. They know they're going to get a bus ticket to wherever the heck they want to go in the United States, and they're going to travel freely because they got that piece of paper that says, you're supposed to appear in an immigration court in 2 or 3 years, and you're good to go.
Incredible.
And you open yourself to all the benefits that, America is willing to give you. This is where the reform needs to start, Jeff.
I agree with you. Iceman, phenomenal call. They're playing us for suckers. Honestly, we used to be Uncle Sam. Now we're just Uncle Sucker. They are playing us for fools. Glenn on the South Shore, you're up next. Go ahead, Glenn.
Jeff, thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure, Glenn.
Jerry stole my thunder a little bit. I mean, I was thinking the same thing. We're assuming they're all Mexicans or Guatemalans or Honduras, but how do we know they're not, radical Islamist terrorists? We don't know. Jeff, I don't usually give up personal information, but last week I was on vacation too, and I was in California. Northern California, so San Francisco, and then much farther north to to see the redwoods. And I noticed a lot of stuff. I'm pretty observant. I noticed, a lot of Mexicans. I noticed a lot of homeless. But the biggest thing that stuck out to me was there were a lot of Muslims. And I was up in the mountains, and I saw them up there, too. And I'm like, what a perfect place to hide up in Northern California. There's nothing up there, Jeff, but mountains. Nothing. And if you want to hide, you would hide up there.
Glenn, Glenn, thank you very much for that call. It's a documented fact. Is jihadists and radical Islamists have been infiltrating our southern border, by the way, including ISIS. And now there are ISIS cells in all 50 states in America. So if I'm a jihadist, and this has been going on now for what, 5-6 weeks? I would infiltrate myself in that caravan. I'd get across the border and kill some Americans down the road. This is a national security issue. Mr. President, now is the time for you to act.
The voice of Boston is you. 680 WRKO Boston, 100.7 WZLX HD2 Boston, an iHeart radio station.